Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Warriors of Chaos led by Kolek Eater and the Vampire Counts who are going to be led by Manuel von Karstein. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So up here in the Vanguard area, we do have three groups of the Marauder Horsemasters, and they're definitely quite solid in this matchup. So firstly, 37 missile damage. They're going to hit very hard against Mortis Engines, Corpse Carts, and a lot of those kind of supporting units that the Vampire Counts often do bring in this matchup. It's very common to see the Mortis Engine. However, my opponent did not bring one. It looks like he does have the double Corpse Cart, but he also has a Terrorgeist and Manfred, so he definitely has some tools at his disposal. But on top of that, these guys do have better range than Throwing Axes, so I think Throwing Axes have 70 and these guys have 90. So they have a little bit better range, and honestly, I think even though Throwing Axes do have better armor-piercing values, I feel like the Horsemasters are just a better pick here. On top of that, they do also have better melee stats, so they're at 26, 26, and 26. So if they are getting hunted by dire wolves and fellbats and things like that, they're going to put up a much better fight, if not win those engagements, and be able to come back and start pressuring those high-value Vampire Counts targets. So we got the three Horsemasters here in the front, going to be hunting down Manfred, and the Terrorgeist here, and the Corpse Carts, and pretty much whatever else they can find. For our main army, I think this is, at least for me, this has been the way I've been able to deal with Vampire Counts. I personally think that the Chaos versus Vampire matchup is super hard. I mean, extremely lopsided in the favor of the Vampire Counts, especially if they just go with the Claw of Nagash and double Terrorgeist and, maybe even like a Zombie Dragon or something. It's very tough to handle, but this has been, one of the better builds in my experience. I know people have all kinds of opinions on what works better for Chaos, but this has just been my personal opinion here. So in the front line, we do have three groups of the Chosen with halberds. Now, the downside of going very elite like this is if your opponent does have Manfred as well as breath attacks, they can really melt your Chosen formations, which really, really sucks considering it's pretty much all the infantry you have here. But the Chosen on paper, they have really good stats. They're going to be able to fend off Terrorgeists. They'll do well against Graveguard. They're going to hold. They have good leadership, good armor. They're just very durable, and you can't really afford to bring weak infantry against vampires. If you bring like Marauders and stuff like that, they tend to just rout off like so damn quick. It's really not efficient here. So three groups of the Chosen with halberds, also going to be good against Cryptors. We have Kolek Eater and his little brother over here, the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. So they're basically just there to fight the big monsters. So if Terrorgeists are coming, if there's a Corpse Cart, not a corpse cart. Those things aren't like something you need to prioritize. But if there's like a Claw of Nagash or a Mortis Engine coming in, the Kolek as well as his bro here can hunt those things down pretty efficiently. So on top of that, we do have a caster on foot. So we have the Chaos Sorcerer with the Lord Metal. Don't really need a horse here, I don't think, because you're just going to be staying in your formation. I don't really have the resources to contest the open field. As such, I think this is going to be a safer pick. But check this out. Before we talk about him, look at the damage. One volley from the Marauder Horsemen, and he was also dodging and kind of swerving. I was able to get some really good value against Manfred, even though he does have the 80 armor there. He tried to summon some zombies on top of me, but thankfully I was able to get away. So we do have the Metal Sorcerer, and all he's going to be doing is just, this matchup pretty much always devolves to a bit of a blob, so I'm going to be trying to wait for that Terrorgeist to land, then I'm going to overcast just a fat, erect final transmutation and try and do, as much damage as I possibly can. The last pick here I have are the Aspiring Champions. So these guys have Courage. They do magic damage. So if your opponent does decide to mix in a couple ethereal units, like the Chill Wraiths, or are they the Chill Wraiths? The Chill guys? the chillists of Wraiths. But the Karen Wraiths and some other units like that, it gives you some magic damage. They have encouragement. Pretty solid little anchor there in your army. That's it for my force. For my opponent, he does have it's a little bit different than traditional Vampires versus Chaos. Typically, you want to go with double Terrorgeist and Mortis Engine if you're going very competitive, but he still has the Terrorgeist, which is going to be good. He has Corpse Guards. He also has Karen Wraiths, and it looks like there's a White King back there. So he does have the Terrorgeist. He's got Manfred on his steed here, which is a pretty competitive pick, although Manfred's taking a ton of these spears. Just look at that. He has Spirit Leech, Fate of Unit, Invocation, and Raise Dead, which is pretty good. He's just going to be using those Fate of Units probably in my Chosen, which is very solid. On top of that, he's got a front line of zombies just to chaff me up. He's got Graveguard in the secondary line. Double Corpse Cart with the Unholy Lodestone. So these things are pretty cheap, and they can really buff up your chaff. It heals as well as giving a melee attack and melee defense. So it's going to buff up the relatively low stats of these Karen Wraiths, which I like. And he does also have a White King in the back, so should be an interesting one. So without further ado, guys, let's get the show on the road. Right now, it's basically just a skirmishing phase, so you can see that my Marauder Horsemaster is just basically trying to do as much damage against Manfred as I can. So normally, Manfred would want to fly over and get those sweet Fate of Unit effects for free, but I'm trying to keep him from getting to my force until, I absolutely have to let him in. He does also have the Dire Pack on the far side, so they're probably going to be swooping in, trying to take that wide route and then angle back on my Marauder Horsemasters, but I should be able to deal with them. Horsemasters are pretty good at kiting those guys. They are very fast. So right here, trying to get some free volleys on the Corpse Guard as well. We do get some pretty good damage, taking it down to about 60%, but it does heal itself, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can see it's healing, so it's probably going to be able to get healed there. And it looks like he was thinking about summoning some more zombies there, but it looks like he was able to cancel that summon. And Manfred's just kind of circling above and doing his evil cackling stuff. In the meantime, I do split up my formation like this. So I put my formation in 3 thin lines because I thought he was going to do a breath attack on me. And if it's like a straight down your formation, it does a lot more damage. So if you think a breath attack's coming from a Terrorgeist or any sort of a dragon, you can do that real quick, and it definitely nullifies a little bit of the damage. Over here, the Marauder Horsemen are still just going to be throwing at Corpse Guards, whatever I can hit really. It also looks like the Terrorgeist are going to be hunting me down, so you can see this bad boy. Definitely, yeah, he's chasing, but he's going to take some javelins to the face for sure. And I mean, yes, throwing axes would maybe, you know, have better armor piercing here, but look at the damage we're getting. I feel like the Marauder Horsemasters do just a fine job. I mean, I really don't feel like we need those other guys. Anyways, over here we do have the Dire Pack coming in, so the Dire Pack is going to be pressuring me, which is definitely going to be tough. We get another fat volley right there. It does about 300 damage. Definitely happy, but my ammunition is getting a little bit low. I'm at about half on all of these guys, but I would still say they paid for themselves. They've done a ton of damage against Manfred back here, and we also did some really good damage to the Terrorgeist, whose binding is weak now. Right now, we're basically just going to line up, keep a relatively high and tight formation, and try and force my opponent to blob on me so I can get those juicy final transmutations. So Fady Boon is going to be going off. It would be really funny if it was on this Firing Champion, but it is going to be on the Chosen, which is definitely a good choice, and I'm just going to engage right now. Obviously, against the zombies, like, it's a bit of a, you know, you just fight whatever you can, right? So the Chosen are going to be piling in Shaggots. They're going to be pounding the Tithe. In the meantime, I do detach one group of Chosen to kind of intercept the Dire Pack, but he quickly re-micros here, and is going to be chasing the Horsemasters, but they're actually taking a ton of damage from the Horsemasters. He does catch me, might be able to get a couple kills. Looks like he does drag down 3 or 4 of those guys, but the Javelin pressure coming in from the other Horsemasters just absolutely crumbles the Dire Pack. So definitely very happy with that result there. Now we have the fight we want. So you can see the Chosen are just going to be battling these spooky ghosts. Kolek is basically just waiting for the Terrorgeist. So the Terrorgeist has landed, and you can see Kolek just with the ominous turnaround here. It looks like he's taking his time. Maybe the Terrorgeist is nibbling on his back leg there, but there he goes. He's going to be turning around, and it is business time. Spirit Leech going down from Manfred, also a very good play. Dire Pack's going to be piling in, trying to hit the Shaggots, but this is where all the goodies happen. So right now, final transmutation, just fat and wreck. It's going to hit the Can Wraiths, who are ethereal. They're going to be taking a ton of damage. Hits the Terrorgeist and pretty much half of my opponent's army. So I think it's a pretty good tactic. I mean, they have to blob in on you. They can't, like, you know, send in troops in like partitions, but I really don't think like that's pretty common for the vampires. In the meantime, the Marauder Horsemasters, having dealt with the threat to them, so the Dire Wolves and the other things chasing them, pretty much just going to sit and shoot. So we're just going to take some pot shots at the Vargeist right here. And you can see that final transmutation did a ton of damage. It took down the Karen Race to about half health. They're now crumbling. The other group is crumbling as well. Over here we have the Chosen in a bit of a 3v1 situation, but Chosen are just so elite. They're going to be able to hold these guys back no problem. And it should be a relatively cost-efficient trade for me. These aren't the Graveguard with the the good armor piercing values. It's the sword and shield variant. So the Graveguard with great weapons definitely would have been a little bit better against the Chosen. Granted, these guys do have better defensive stats. So if you're going with like Mortis Engine type effects, there is a case to be made because they're going to hold longer. So in this case, I think the great weapons would have been a little bit better. Granted, he might have been relying on those guys to hold and the Karen Race to do the heavy armor piercing with the Fate of Unit. So Manfred does land over here on top of my Horsemaster, so I will be pulling back, but he's definitely a very juicy target. He only has 1800 HP, so I could definitely poke him with the Javelins there. But Kolek and company are doing a really good job. They're kind of just attacking this Terrorgeist right here and just hunting him down, getting some decent little hammers. And the Terrorgeist is having a kind of a waddle back and forth and trying to get away. But he is crumbling at this point, negative 17 leadership, and it looks like he's going to be pulling out right here. I think he actually got stuck on his own Corpse Guard, but the Chosen and company doing pretty good. Some Overwatch fire coming in from the Marauder Horsemasters, and the Chosen here are slowly working their way through these troops. But right now, basically, I'm pretty low on ammunition, so I was like, you know what? These ethereal units and zombies do have pretty poor leadership, and they're very tattered, so I'm just going to charge in with my cav here and try and get as much value as I can, break their leadership, and then just cycle charge in and out, in and out. That's really going to help support the Chosen and also, just do straight-up damage from crumbling. Who does have a lot of stuff. The Karen Race definitely getting some nice buffs. They just get punted by the Dragon Ogre there. That was pretty funny. Manfred, of course, is flying above, getting his cast off. But just pulling back right now. I will be charging in again in a moment. Unfortunately, these Chosen are busy fighting zombies. They're so slow. I kind of just have to work my way through them. So that's kind of what's really important in this matchup is you really want to make sure that everything is positioned correctly right when the fighting starts. So the other Terrorgeist up in the sky is going to be probably charging in on Kolek. He has done some pretty decent damage. Bounce power is still pretty even. Lord of the Storm going down there and just absolutely shrekking those zombies. Also doing some very good damage against those Karen Wraiths there. So hopefully it can lead to some crumbling. Really good zombie summon from my opponent on top of these guys. So he is able to summon some zombies on top of my Horsemasters. I tried to pull out the wrong way, although honestly I should probably just stay and fight because the zombies have pretty poor stats and the Horsemasters aren't pushovers in melee. But yeah, very, very good summon. Temporarily shuts me down there. Manfred, of course, very proud of himself with the Master of the Black Arts up here in the sky doing some good work. Karen Race in here as far as kills, we got 7 and we got 2. So they're fighting Chosen, very elite stuff. But they are doing a little bit of damage against the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Kolek, of course, is at about 60% health, so I definitely need to be careful. There could be some charging. Well, it looks like no, I don't have to be so careful anymore. The Terrorgeist is very low. Manfred back here is going to be shutting down my missiles. Bounce of Power is still even, despite the fact that I have done a ton of damage against this Terrorgeist here. It looks like it might even just crumble out of the sky, although it's kind of stabilizing. 8-13 leadership. Now he's flying above, looking for an opportunity to strike. So there's White King in here as well. So Kolek and the Shaggoth are going to be kind of working on the White King a little bit. White King does have a bonus for his infantry, so it will help out a little bit against Chosen. But again, the White King's armor piercing is relatively low, but it is getting those buffed combat stats from the Corpse Guards. But now Kolek and company, now that I don't have to worry about the Terrorgeist, so it does fall. You guys see the Terrorgeist plummet to the ground. Kolek and company can just start working on this corpse cart right here. You can see this guy looks like he's like, literally looks like he's like taking a bite out of that zombie cart, looking for some snacks, like a dog truffling or a pig truffling for mushrooms. Anyways, these guys are going to keep working here. These guys in the back, the Marauder Horsemen, are able to just fight through the zombies, create a bit of an opening, get away from Manfred. Now we're just going to circle up and around the back, so we're going to come here and here and here, just come up and under, and just start rear charging in the back line here, hopefully doing some pretty good work. So Dragon Ogre still finishing off the corpse cart, getting some pretty good damage in. The balance of power is starting to shift in my favor a little bit. Granted, there's still a ton of vampire count stuff. These chosen with halberds are very low. The aspiring champions only have 5 models, but these ones are full health basically. Still at 60 of 60 models. They were just fighting some chaff over on the wings. And another final transmutation is really going to be what I needed. So you pretty much can only get 2 off. This one isn't overcasted, but oh man, Kolek! I wish we gotten a close-up of that. The final transmutation was doing like a ton of damage against the White King. And Kolek just comes in with the Star Crusher and just absolutely beats that ass. Doing a great job right there, so definitely definitely very proud of Kolek. And yeah, right now just charging with the Marauder Horsemasters, doing some pretty good work right here. The Karen race here taking a rear charge, immediately tanking their leadership to -30. And if you don't have an answer against Karen race and things like that, just rear charge them with Cap. I mean, even if it's like a chaff unit like Dark Riders or Illyrian Reavers, that's one of the best ways to kill ethereal units if you don't have any magic damage. So anyways, the Chosen are just finishing off the last of the scraps here. The Graveguard are still fighting, but it is getting danger close to the army losses from my opponent. Chosen here do have standard die, so they're going to be pretty healthy. In worst case scenario, I just could fall back, but at this point, I really think he has gotten Kolek pretty low. You can see Manfred thinking about charging, but he is just going to be surfing on the Shaggoth and engaging against Kolek. But yeah, I don't think my opponent has to stop in power to deal with the Dragon Ogres at this point. They're just going to be able to chase off Kolek. There are a couple Graveguard fighting, but I'm going to continue cycle charging here. You can see the Marauder Horsemasters coming in with a charge bonus of 30, so that's something that's really cool about them. Because yeah, I also have a, oh, did you guys see that? That Horsemaster like fall off his horse right there and then like get back on? That was kind of a weird thing. Bug, but they have a pretty good charge bonus. I really think they're a pretty solid pickup in this match, But nonetheless, it's still a little bit dangerous because the vampire counts can bring, you know, Fellbats and more direwolves and things like that. Typically, if I was playing vampire counts against the Warriors of Chaos, well, actually, maybe I'll jump over and show you guys the build I would bring. But I do think this Chaos build has potential against vampire counts. It might need a little bit fine tuning. Maybe cut Chosen and get like 2 more Chaos Warriors with halberds, go a little bit wider. It might be a little helpful. On top of that, maybe you might need something to protect the Marauder Horsemasters. So I don't know. I'm trying to think what would be best there. But anyways, yeah, I like this build quite a bit. It really is also dependent on your opponent jumping into the final transmutation trap. But typically in double Terror Guys, you're going to see the 2 Terror Guys jump in and try and snipe out your Shaggoths very quickly. So that final transmutation, I feel like, can be pretty much game changing. And I've gone with Lore of Death or Spirit Leech, but I really think this is a little bit more cost effective. So well played to my opponent, NateDog9007. It was definitely a cool build, seeing the Karen rates and things like that. And had I not gone with Final Transmutation, it definitely could have been a little bit scarier because they are a decent armor-piercing option. They cause terror, and Chosen are not immune to psychology, so there is some value that could be gained there. But I think the Final Transmutation was just far too punishing. So very well played to my opponent, Nate Dog. It was a pretty cool build. And guys, we're going to jump over, and I'll give you guys a quick look at the very competitive build versus the Warriors of Chaos. So we'll jump over here, and we'll go back here. Now over to the custom battles. So in the custom battles, we're going to go to Vampire Counts. Wherever they are. We don't want our shines. So Manfred's probably the best choice. You can go with Manfred on his steed like that. That's not bad. You can go with him on the Zombie Dragon. So just for fun, let's put him on the Zombie Dragon. Although, I don't know what the better choice is. We'll probably fine tune this here. Make sure to get rid of all these spells though. Get these Sword of Unholy Power. Breath Attack is very good against like Chosen Helm's Deep for sure. It's tough for them to handle. So on top of that, you can get, you know, the Sternsman. If you want, you can get like a couple Graveguard with great weapons. We might end up cutting those for chaff units, but Claw of Nagash is very good because if the Shaggoths are chasing the Claw of Nagash, they can then be very tough for them to catch it. So yeah, we're gonna have to kind of you know, cut one of those guys for now, and probably just get a bunch of like zombies. And do we want to get the Tithe? Probably not. And we're gonna get the Tithe. We'll get some of these. Yeah, I think that should be fine. On top of that, you could get a couple Skeleton Spears. It's going to be really tough for them to handle. You're going to be constantly summoning Fate of Buna. You have this Claw of Nagash is kind of kiting and trolling. You could get a couple groups of Skeleton Spears, but on top of that, you could get some Fellbats. So let's get some of these guys. Let's get rid of the Tithe and get the Direwolves. Direwolves definitely do good. The Fellbats are, I would say the Fellbats are a pretty optimal choice because they're going to be able to just chase down the Horsemasters. Are a little bit faster with 110 speed, and on top of that, they're not going to kill them, but they have high melee defense, and it takes forever to kill them. So basically, they're going to hold those guys in place long enough that it allows you to just win the frontline engagement with the Mortis Engine effects and, you know, Manfred and stuff like that. Because basically, you're just going to fly on the side. You're just going to get a fat, juicy breath attack, melts like half the Chosen, double breath attack on Kolek. Mortis Engine goes in whenever the Shaggoths target the Mortis Engine. You just basically alpha strike them with all 3. I don't think Manfred has a potion of strength. No, he doesn't. Also, you can go with Red Duke. Red Duke is a pretty good choice. El Sif is just so powerful for like gooning out, you know, the what's it called? You know, Shaggoths. So you could just like switch to him. We don't want him on that. So So the problem with this is you do lose access to like all the sweet Lore of Death spells, but it does open up. You get a Potion of Strength here, and that does give you enough to get like a couple more chaff units. So you could even like throw in some skeletons or some zombies or something like that. Like either of those builds, Red Duke or Manfred, are going to be really tough for the Warriors of Chaos to handle. I don't know if I've seen like in the tournament play or like really high level play. I don't know if I've seen like Chaos win that matchup consistently. It is very, very tough. But anyways, again, well played my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you guys next time.